Welcome to Marketplace Finds, where we show off some crazy and interesting cars for sale, judge what we think of the price, then order it in our tier list. This might just be the most Temu modified car we've seen in a hot minute. It is, or at least was, a 2011 Chevy Cruze, until what might just be the most stereotypical tasteless car guy got a hold of it. We're talking the scratch mark over the headlights, an assortment of random stickers, fake window covers, and so much more. Basically, if it's coloured red, it's been added on when it shouldn't have been. Inside, you're met with an explosion of red vinyl that makes it look like the Kool-Aid Man didn't survive a crash test. For $5,500, you could buy a normal Cruze, or buy this and make 99% of car guys want to gouge their eyes out. I swear Miata owners are split into two groups, furries and femboys who treat their cars like emotional support animals, and absolute maniacs who build stuff like this. This one is a 1992 Miata that's been stripped, boosted, and turned into a street legal death cart with a license plate that proudly says Goat Cart. Under the hood is no dainty little 1.6. It's packing a 5.3 litre LS with a turbo big enough to inhale small pets. Thankfully the seller added a video so we can even hear this beautiful beast. Half of the body's gone alongside the doors. Instead, you get a full tubular cage, race seats with harnesses, and a wing big enough to qualify for takeoff clearance at $19,500. It's not for the faint-hearted, but for the kind of person who thinks traction controllers for cowards and roll cages are a love language.
Brother,
I didn't think cars could have diseases, but I'm starting to think this 1989 Honda Civic has one. It literally looks like it's been daily driven through a scrapyard and then art exhibited in one. The seller calls it a patina or rat rod paint job, but let's be honest, this is less patina and more New Delhi sidewalk. That shark mouth paint job says warplane, but the rest of the car screams war crime. But I hate to say it, but it kind of works. Under the hood, the motor is still hanging in there like it's got rent due. It's got 174,000 miles, so it's just broken in, but it is also a manual as an added bonus. The interior looks like Banksy had a psychotic break with graffiti on every surface, but it looks like you get a free road rage reducing brick sitting on the passenger seat at $2,300. It's ugly, unapologetic, and still running, which, let's face it, is a true Honda spirit. Somewhere between a Nova and a nervous breakdown, this 1962 Chevy started life as a 4-door sedan, and then someone decided 2 doors were twice as cool. So they grabbed a saw, a beer, and now we've got what the seller proudly calls the Manova. On the outside, it's got bright red paint that still turns heads, mostly from people wondering what exactly they're looking at. Sure, the body's got some rust bubbles and cracks, but honestly, that just proves it's been used as intended. Parked at shows, gunned at lights, and talked about by every old guy within a 2-mile radius. The proportions are wild, half muscle car, half compact coupe, all commitment. They're after $8,000 for this Nova, with half the doors, double the personality, and exactly the kind of car that keeps the weird side of car culture alive. From a distance, this thing looks like it just respawned out of Need for Speed Underground 2. You half expect a Lil Jon song to start playing when it rolls up, but look closer and you'll notice this isn't the all-wheel drive twin-turbo legend. This one is a GTT that's been hitting the gym and borrowing all of its big brother's clothes, but damn if it still isn't beautiful. The paint alone deserves its own Instagram account. It's not a rap, that's real, honest to God chameleon, copying the stunning midnight purple seen on the GTRs. Underneath all that prismatic glory are GTR and Z-Tune body parts, and if you're in the know, those parts cost more than an arm and a leg. It's listed up for $75,000, which is a little on the higher side, but for how clean it is and how much in parts it's got, I can definitely see it selling for that much. This 1982 Chevrolet Caprice Classic looks like it fell asleep in the 1980s and woke up in a reggae music video. The paint fades from red to yellow to green, like a Bob Marley tribute melted in the sun, and the car's sitting high on 26-inch rims that look like they were stolen off a roller coaster. And if you're wondering why grandma's drapes are over the front windows, that would be because the front windows don't go up and the rears don't go down, which means you're driving a permanent cross breeze no matter the weather. Inside, it's chaos in primary colors. You've got a red dash, yellow steering column, and some comfortable looking blue seats that you could probably compress and extract some weed oil. Under the hood, you get whatever's left of a small block Chevy that's seen more neglect than a Craigslist jet ski. At the $2,000 asking price, the seller says no low balls, which are brave words for something that looks void of testosterone. Somewhere in Missouri, a Mercedes engineer just felt a disturbance in the force because this isn't your average SL class. This is a 1991 Mercedes-Benz that's been fully exorcised of its European soul and reborn as an American drag strip demon. Meet the Murdercedes, a matte black missile packing a 6-litre LS stroked to 408 cubic inches with a giant blower sticking out of the hood like it's trying to inhale the entire atmosphere. It's got twin 1000mm throttle bodies, upgraded injectors, Holy Terminator, and from the video you can see this thing doesn't idle. It growls through small earthquakes. She's done 5.5s in the 8th at 128 miles per hour, and it's somehow still street legal enough to get groceries if you don't mind terrifying everyone in the Walmart parking lot. At $45,000, you're not buying a car, you're buying bragging rights, a headache for your insurance agent, and the fastest way to make a Mercedes purist cry. Give me a hell yeah! If Elsa from Frozen ever decided to start a demolition derby, this would be her weapon of choice. Meet Avalanche, a 2004 Chevy 2500 that's tall enough to be a hazard to low-flying aircraft and terrifying to anyone afraid of heights. Underneath the frosty paint job is a full monster truck chassis built by Nothing But Trouble Racing, which feels less like a company name and more like a warning label. It's rocking planetary axles and coilovers that look like they were stolen off a space shuttle. It's so massive, your ears probably pop halfway up the ladder. Speaking of ladders, this thing even comes with its own aluminum boarding platform, because climbing into it without one would qualify as a CrossFit event. The bed's being converted into a grandstand, complete with passenger seats for anyone brave enough to ride shotgun while the driver turns earth into confetti. At $60,000, you get a Chevy that's technically street legal in the loosest sense of the word. This is the 2020 Vanderhall Caramel. It's a 3-wheeled, turbocharged slice of modern retro, built in Utah but styled like it came out of the 1930s. From the front, it looks like a cross between a vintage roadster and a Dyson air purifier, and from the back, well, it looks like it's missing a wheel because it is. Despite that, this thing oozes style. The glossy black paint, the huge wheels, and that bubble roof all scream luxury weekend toy, but the open sides scream, I hope it doesn't rain. Inside you've got tan leather seats, a wood trim dash, toggle switches, and a 3-spoke wheel that looks straight out of a speedboat. It's retro luxury if your idea of comfort is pretending you're in a jazz age biplane. Under the hood, or technically the front pocket, there's a 1.5 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder, the same GM engine you'd find in a Chevy Sonic, but in this it probably actually feels fast. At $25,000, it's not cheap, but it's definitely unique as nothing else on the road looks quite like it. Behold, the most aggressively Alabama vehicle ever created without involving a 4-wheeler, fireworks, and a pregnancy announcement. This 2000 Mercury Grand Marquee has been smothered in so much Roll Tide propaganda, it looks like Nick Saban personally lost a bet and had to design it. Let's start with the obvious. This car is less Grand Marquee and more mobile billboard for someone who's never left their county. The entire side says Alabama in letters so big you'd think the car was worried people might mistake it for a functioning adult. The rest of the car looks like it was airbrushed by a guy who only paints at gas stations after midnight because it's cracking harder than your knees when you stand up. I can't even lie though, I love the tri-spoke rims. It's already sold for an honestly not bad $3,000. Unfortunately for all the people who don't care what other people think about them, meet this Infiniti Q50, a vehicle that's been to more car meets than oil changes. It's sitting so low on air suspension that if you even think about a pothole, it'll scrape. Let's start with that wrap. The factory paint didn't stand a chance. Instead, it's now dipped in metallic tangerine with a dragon mural down the side, like an anime battle scene playing out at 5 miles per hour. The headlights glow like mood lamps, purple 1 minute, yellow the next, because who needs visibility when you can blind everyone at a meet? Unfortunately, I accidentally didn't screenshot the price, and the seller removed the listing, so I'm going to guess they had it listed up for around $20,000, because apparently stance tax is a thing now. If you've ever wondered what happens when someone lets Reddit design a truck, I'm Pickle Rick! Here it is, the Pickle Rick pickup, a 2012 Chevy Colorado wrapped in the kind of Rick and Morty art you usually see on a dude's vape pen. The rest of the body is covered in tiny stickers peeling off like they're trying to escape the embarrassment. The seller says the frame is solid, which is impressive considering the rest of the truck is decaying faster than the Rick and Morty fanbase after season 3. The $2,000 asking price is actually decent, even if driving it highlights your non-existent self-respect. Meet the 2002 Chevy Blazer Extreme, freshly drenched in more color than a paintball field on Half Price Wednesday. Over 80 hours of booth time went into this PPG masterpiece. Yellow pearl tri-coat, marbled purple, laced patterns, and enough custom striping to make a pinstriper cry tears of envy. Aside from the neon chaos paint job, it's got a completely new brake and suspension setup, so this thing's had more replacement parts than your average rock band lineup. Inside, it's pure early 2000s GM comfort, grey cloth, working everything, and an AC system that's as cold as your ex's text. The wildest part? This paint job wasn't done back in 2004, it was finished this year, which means the paint alone probably costs more than the $8,800 asking price, and definitely more than the Blazer's Blue Book value. This 1991 Honda Accord looks like Zeus sneezed on it, but honestly, we'll never know for sure, because every photo was taken off another screen. You're not looking at a car listing, you're looking at a photo of a computer, displaying a photo of a car that might not even exist anymore. We can tell it's got Lambo doors and lightning paint, but a reflection of someone's desktop in the monitor adds real mystery. At $1,900, Someone just pay it so I can see if the car exists or not. What started life as a 1968 Volkswagen Beetle has now been re-engineered into this absolute insanity. It's riding on a full tube chassis, stretched and widened just enough for normal sized humans. The cell is 6'3" and still fits, which is rare for a Beetle that isn't on display at Legoland. The body's wrapped in a weathered aircraft style finish, complete with rivets, louvers, and a cheeky pin-up mural that looks like it was ripped off the side of a B-17 bomber. But the engine is where things really get wild, because it's powered by a Chevy 383 stroker with twin turbos, which is exactly why the seller says it's super fast, super light, and not for amateurs. Inside looks just about as comfortable as an overcrowded prison, and it's got enough gauges that one might even tell you why your girlfriend is mad at you. The seller's asking $30,000, which is a bit more than what I think it's worth, even with the huge amount of custom work. At first glance, this looks like your average bag Accord, the kind of car you'd see quietly gliding out of a parking lot with lo-fi playing through the speakers. But no, this guy terrorizes parking lots because he built this absolute monstrosity of a speaker wall to sit on top of this poor Accord. Somewhere nearby, an earthquake sensor goes off every time this guy plays Bad Bunny. He's asking $10,000 without the music setup, which feels like ordering a taco and getting just the napkin. If you've ever looked at a loaf of bread left on the counter too long and thought, yeah, I'd drive that, then this one's for you. This 1960 International Harvester Metro looks like it's been parked since Eisenhower was president and just woke up to find its grandkids drive Priuses. The seller says it's a solid van, which is technically true if you ignore the holes, rust flakes, and the fact that you can see daylight through most of it. The body's off the frame's off the ground, and the engine's off in another dimension. The seller says, I can put it together, which sounds less like confidence and more like famous last words before a project sits another decade. Still, these old Metros have charm. They look awesome when restored, but I have a feeling this one might not be worth the effort. At $5,000, it's hard to tell if that's the price for the van or the rust by weight. Either way, you'll be 10 times that in restoring it. I'm going to keep this one short, because honestly, the van speaks for itself, probably in riddles. This GMC Safari looks like Gandalf got into mural design and teamed up with the narwhal to start a plumbing business. It's the kind of paint job that makes kids point and adults question your sobriety. You could drive this thing across America and never need to explain what kind of person you are. The van already does it for you. It was up for $2,600, and unfortunately someone has already purchased this absolute masterpiece. Once a 1995 Subaru Legacy, now it's a full-blown cartoon crossover episode brought to life. This right-hand drive Legacy has been painted like it fell straight out of a comic panel, complete with bold black outlines, fake shading, and enough neon green to melt a pair of Oakleys. I've always had a soft spot for these types of paint jobs, and whoever did this one has done a great job. The seller says is the current featherweight truck champion, which is either a sound system competition or a new Olympic event for wagons with identity crisis. Speaking of sound systems, this thing's apparently built for one, so don't be surprised if you find enough subwoofers inside to rattle your skeleton loose. They're after $10,000, and as there's a bit of a cult following for these Subarus, I wouldn't be surprised if someone snaps it up. Here's how the final tier list ended up. Let us know what we got right, what we got wrong, if there's anything you'd change around. Otherwise, thanks for watching, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.